All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today we are going to be talking about XDelete. And I know a lot of you guys are rejoicing right now because if you've been paying attention, you saw that X Automotive just announced that XDelete is finally available for G-Series BMWs. And on top of that, they even added some extra features for F-Series BMWs as well. So I saw a lot of you guys hopping on the train to go ahead and try it out on your car. And I will just tell you up front, I won't be actually testing it on my car in this video or anything like that. Actually, both of my cars are rear-wheel drive, so it's not really an option for me. But I know a lot of you guys with XDrive cars have just been dying to experience these traction issues us rear-wheel drive guys have been dealing with. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about XDelete so that you guys know how it works and is it safe to use and how you can basically take the best advantage of it depending on your goals. So we'll talk about that in this video and hopefully you guys find it useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. So yeah, let's talk about XDelete. And again, for those of you that don't know, it is an app made by X Automotive. They are the same guys that make XHP, so very well-established company in the BMW aftermarket. They make, varying tunes for different parts of your drivetrain, but this one is specifically for XDrive vehicles. This has nothing to do with their transmission tunes or anything like that. And of course, above and beyond that, some of you guys forget, there are manual transmission XDrive cars out there. So this even works for them as well. So if you want to take advantage of this, you need the app and the license in order to flash it on your car. And whether you have a transmission tune or not, it is something that you can make work. The way the XDrive system works is pretty simple. The transmission sends power through your drive shaft to your rear differential just like normal. Except on an XDrive car, you're going to have a transfer case that is attached onto the transmission. And the way that it sends power to the front is there is basically a chain driving a gear going over into the transfer case, and that is what actually rotates the front drive shaft that splits power to your front wheels. So that's kind of how everything works. Primarily it sends all the power to the rear wheels, but the transfer case can also send some of the power to the front wheels. Now, the good news is this power is adjustable because there are clutches inside of the transfer case that can either be completely clamped down to send as much power to the front as possible, or they can open up and slip a little bit to send more power to the rear wheels. And this is where XDelete comes into play. So it is basically a tune for the controller that manages your power distribution to the front and rear wheels going through your transfer case. And by opening up those clutches as much as possible, you can minimize how much power is going to the front so that your rear wheels pretty much get all of the torque. Now, when you're actually using the app, it's very similar to any other flash software. So you're going to need an OBD adapter. I highly recommend using the MHD universal adapter. That's one of the ones that works for everything, especially for those of you guys with G-Series cars. The DME Wi-Fi adapters may or may not work for like transmission and drivetrain Wi-Fi tuning. So getting the MHD universal adapter is kind of the easiest way to know you have one adapter that will work for everything. But once you get an adapter that can actually connect to the car, you will flash it just like normal. It does take a little while on the first flash, but they estimate that flashes after the first one should take no more than 30 seconds. And then at this point, there are a couple different modes that you can choose from. So first of all, of course, is all-wheel drive on. That is just the standard stock tuning for the XDrive system. Then you can do all-wheel drive off, which basically minimizes how much torque is going to the front wheels so that you get as much power going to the rear wheels as possible and basically turns it into a rear-wheel drive car. There is also all-wheel drive sport, which is a new one, and now it's also available for F-Series cars. And this one increases the bias going to the rear wheels, but you'll still have some torque going to the front wheels as well. So it gives it a little bit more of a sporty feel, reduces any understeer characteristics your car might have, while not getting rid of that front end grip that you might want in like the most stressful situations. And then finally, there is a custom mode. So you can actually go anywhere from 0 to 100%. 100% is fully clamped. So that's sending as much power to the front wheels as possible. and 0 is minimizing it. So basically as little power going to the front as possible. So this lets you set anything that you might want. They even had like a snow setting in the past, but that didn't seem to get ported over to, you know, the newer BMWs. But this is kind of where you can make those adjustments, because basically that's what they said they were doing, between like 20 and 50% depending on the mode. So you can adjust that bias and how much torque can actually go to the front wheels by setting up that custom map. Now, with all that in mind, you know, it definitely works. We've seen a lot of people trying it out, but one big question is it even safe? And I will say that it is safe in certain scenarios, but not safe in other scenarios. And they do have some warnings listed on the app so that you know how to make sure you don't damage anything in your transfer case. One big thing I see a lot of people say is, oh, the M cars are able to do it, so of course our cars can do it too. But the M XDrive is different than the standard non-M XDrive. If you look at the M XDrive documentation, you can see one of the biggest things they did was improve the oiling. And what that does is it makes sure that the clutches stay cool, even if you're pushing a lot of torque to the rear wheels and the clutches are experiencing a lot of slip. On our cars, that's not necessarily the case. It's not as optimized. So when the clutches are slipping, they will experience more heat. Now, like I said, even in stock trim, this is a natural part of how the transfer case works. The clutches are going to slip a little bit, especially when you're going around turns, accelerating really hard and things like that. It's going to be constantly trying to manage torque to keep traction. The M XDrive transfer case also comes with beefier clutches. So again, it was just kind of designed for more abuse. And the factory tuning on the M XDrive pushes more power to the rear than a standard XDrive car. Now, in most driving scenarios, you're going to see pretty similar speeds front and rear. So that's where I would say XDelete probably isn't a huge deal. Pushing the car around the track and things like that, it should be able to handle it. But basically the scenarios I don't recommend is if your front wheels aren't turning at all. So for example, a standing burnout, if your rear wheels are spinning really fast, but the front wheels aren't moving at all, that's going to be increasing the amount of clutch slip that you're experiencing, which worst case could damage your transfer case. Another one that people have said is potentially going on like a rear wheel drive dyno or a 2-wheel drive dyno with a 4-wheel drive car. Oh, you can just turn on XDelete and dyno your car. That's not recommended either. That can definitely cause extra wear on your transfer case and cause those clutches to basically get damaged. So driving, even maybe a little bit of sliding around and stuff like that, not the end of the world, but I wouldn't necessarily do anything where the front wheels aren't moving while the rear wheels are moving at a high speed. So yeah, it's not 100% safe in all scenarios. You can even look at the XDelete notes and you'll see they actually mention that with XDrive off, you need to keep in mind the XDrive clutch is submerged in oil and therefore a small amount of power will always reach the front wheels, even with the clutch fully open. So that again just kind of illustrates the inherent problem with the XDrive disabling system. You know, it's not something that you want to exploit too much because you're going to be hurting the transfer case if you push it too hard. And the M XDrive cars, again, they're just kind of designed for this. They've got beefier clutches from the factory. The factory tuning for the XDrive naturally pushes more power to the rear wheels. So overall, it's just a system better designed for that kind of abuse. So now again, for release notes, you know, those of you guys that have been waiting for it, G20, G22s, all of you guys, it is finally available for you. It is not necessarily available for M cars yet, but they did say it should be coming soon for cars built before June of 2021. Now, my understanding is the control systems after that changed has its own encryption, which will require being cracked, just like our DME tuning. They will need to work on cracking the, drivetrain tuning for these cars. So just wait if you have a car after the June 2021 cutoff. But if you just want to double check what is supported for your car, you can always go to their website, type in your VIN, and it shows you all of the tools they have available for your specific car. But yeah, regardless of me being able to use it or not, I do think it's a pretty cool feature. And it's cool that somebody actually figured out how to make this work. I'm curious if you guys have tried it out, what your experiences are. So definitely just let me know what you think of it and if you plan on using it more often than not. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. So thank you guys for watching and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.